Welcome to Death Valley National Park. Hello everyone, and welcome to another day of adventures with Wes and Jeff. We are in Death Valley National Park, which is in the southeastern portion of California and into Nevada. We have just entered the park and we are at Father Crowley Overlook. This is an overlook that looks down. You can see where the highway is that comes up and down, around, twist all the way down. It's about 8 miles down to the bottom of the valley floor there. And you can see off in the distance, there is sand dunes. I'm going to see if I can zoom in a little bit. That's, I think, the Mesquite Sand Dunes. We might end up going there and taking a look at those. But those are unique. And then you have the basin, and we will be going across that little stretch right there that goes across that white section, which is all salt. Anyways, this is Death Valley National Park. Driving through this park is 140 miles. Death Valley became a national monument back in 1933 and was designated as a national park in 1994. This park is our largest national park in the lower 48 states at 3.4 million acres. Over 1.1 million visitors come to this park each year. One of the interesting historic markers along the drive in the park is the burn Wagons Point. At this location, a jaywalker group of pioneers from the Midwest got stranded here in 1849 as they were seeking a shorter route to the gold mines in central California. In order to survive, they resorted to burning their wagons. They dried some of their meat from their oxen, and with the surviving animals, struggled westward on foot. As they looked back over the valley, they said, "Goodbye, Death Valley," and that is how it was named Death Valley. This place is called Mesquite Sand Dunes in Death Valley National Park. A lot of sand dunes, really fine sand. It's kind of warm out here, actually 85 degrees today in the middle of winter. So, had our lunch, and this is our lunch lookout spot, so it's kind of cool. Anyways, Mesquite Sand Dunes, Death Valley National Park. And this is Devil's Cornfield. These are arrowweed plants that cluster together and in the sand where they can find moisture, and it looks like a cornfield of these arrowwood seeded plants. plants. Anyways, kind of interesting reading about it. Fill out more information on the comments. Our next stop on our adventure through the park was exploring the old Harmony Borax Works and taking the 0.4 of a mile hike. Back in 1881, borax was found here on the salt flats of Death Valley. William T. Coleman built the Harmony plant and began to refine the ore in 1883. 3 tons of borax was processed daily at this plant. A refining plant was built here to separate the cotton ball borax from the mud and salt. High cost of transportation made it necessary to refine the borax here rather than carry both borax and waste 165 miles across the desert to the nearest railroad. Borax was in high demand back in those days, and as it was used in making of ceramics, glass, detergents, soap, and other industrial items. The almost pure deposits were located in Death Valley, one of the hottest and driest places on Earth. Getting the finished product to market from the heart of Death Valley was a difficult task, and an efficient method had to be devised. They built these huge wagons, and since they didn't have tractors or motorized vehicles in those days, they had to use strong mules. In fact, they needed 20 mules to pull these heavy wagons across the desert and out of this valley. The 20 mule team became a slogan and brand name that was used in advertising of soap and other products that was made from borax that came from Death Valley. Fully loaded with 2 ore wagons and 1,200-gallon water wagon, the rig weighed 36.5 tons. The wagons were among the largest ever pulled by draft animals, designed to carry 10 short tons of borax ore at a time. The teams hauled more than 20 million pounds of borax out of Death Valley between 1883 and 1888 in the 6 years of operation. It's a pretty cool place. Be sure and stop here if you are in this area of Death Valley. Smallest species of fox in North America is the kit fox. These clever nocturnal animals find shelter in dens during the heat of the day and hunt at night. About the size of a house cat, the kit fox has a bushy tail and large pointed ears. Those distinctive ears help the fox dissipate body heat. Even the fox's feet have Death Valley environment adaptations. Stiff tufts of fur protect its paws from the hot desert sands. Named for its characteristic sideways gait, the Mojave Desert Sidewinder rattlesnake and its unique style of movement allows it to move quickly across the sand. You can tell when a Sidewinder rattlesnake has been in the area because they leave a distinct J-shaped trail behind in the sand. This is how the snake moves through the sand and minimizes its contact with the hot surface. Kangaroo rat can get by without ever taking a drink of water by converting the fats and carbohydrates from the seeds that it eats into the moisture that it needs. Good morning and welcome to another day of adventures with Wes and Jeff. We are at Zabriskie Point in Death Valley National Park, and this is February the 11th, 2022. This is sunrise, and I was just telling Jeff, there's a lot of people that have this as one of their bucket list items, is to experience sunrise at Zabriskie Point in Death Valley National Park. It is absolutely beautiful. We have lots of photographers here, lots of spectators, people visiting the park, maybe for the first time, or maybe this is their 100th time, but this is always a spectacular event to see the sunrise over the peaks here, looking down into Death Valley. And this is about the closest point that you can get as a photographer without going over the edge and catching that sunrise hitting the peaks over into Zabriskie Point. are at the Salt Creek Interpretative Trail. That is this wood planked sidewalk that goes along the Salt Creek, and we are trying to locate some pupfish, P-U-P. It's a special little fish that only lives here at Death Valley National Park in the Salt Creek area. They've got this nice little trail. Jeff and I are really concentrating trying to find these little pupfish to see if we can locate one. We're the only ones on the trail this morning. It's 7:30 in the morning and it's already 76 degrees at Death Valley National Park. So this is a nice little interpretive trail. We were trying to find some pupfish. I'll post a picture of a pupfish if we are successful in finding one. But this is Death Valley National Park on February the 11th, 2022, and we are at Salt Creek Interpretive Trail trying to find pupfish. At a place that they call Artist Palette. It's a hillside drive that's about 6 to 7 miles, and you go back into these hillsides where they've exposed a lot of the different minerals and different things, which a lot of different colors. We got pinks and greens, and browns and tans, and even a little bit of like dark burgundy. really pretty place back in here. It's called Artist Palette. Golden Canyon, which is the most popular hike. It's a short hike, 3/4 of a mile or so, up into this canyon that leads up to Zabriskie Point that we visited this morning at sunrise. But we actually took advantage of the 2 o'clock program that they had here with the national parks, where it was a guided hike with a ranger, a U.S. Parks Ranger, so Park Service Ranger. She was very informative, Ranger Heather, and she knew all about the geology of the rocks and the borax and all the different titanic movement of the rocks and why they are at a slant and all that. So she informed us all that. We kind of broke off on our own, and we are now hiking on our own up to the canyon. Jeff has his cowboy hat on for shade, and the moon is out. The planes are going across the blue sky and making a nice little streak, but you can see the canyon has these walls that have the bed, the bed rock. The rocks have slanted upwards because of the movement over time, and it is really cool. It's about 80 degrees, about 78 or so. It's getting warmer, but very interesting hike. I don't know that we're going to go too much further up this Golden Canyon, but at one time they did have automobiles. They had paved this in the 1920s, and so you could drive your automobile all the way down this Golden Canyon down into Death Valley. But in 1976, there was a huge flash flood that came down through this canyon in particular, and it destroyed the road. So only portions of the old asphalt is still remaining of this, and the National Park Service just made it a great little hike instead of trying to repair it and allow vehicles to drive up the canyon any longer. But there's Jeff walking up the canyon there, and we're gonna probably just go up to the end and then call it a day. But this is a really cool hike if you are at Death Valley National Park and want to take in the Golden Canyon Trail. It's a pretty interesting hike and lots of rock formations and lots of color. Place that they call Devil's Golf Course. These are salt crystallization formed over time that have been shaped by the wind and forces. They still get a little bit of rain, and when it washes down here, it reforms them. When it's hot and it is expanding and contracting, the salt actually makes these popping, cracking sounds. But as far as you can see, this Devil's Golf Course is what they've named it, is really not a golf course at all. It's really a salt formed, it looks kind of like coral reef that has been formed on the bed of the lake bed here at the bottom of Death Valley National Park. It's really a cool feature and interesting to check out and to see all of the salt crystals that have and how they formed and continue to this day. It's kind of a popular tourist attraction. There's quite a few people here. Pulled off the main road, and you come back in, and there's our rig. There's Jeff checking out all the salt that is in Devil's Golf Course. Let's see if I can get it close up. There we go. You can kind of see the salt and how it's shaped by the wind that whistles through here. At the lowest spot in the U.S. at 282 feet below sea level. And all of this salt, it could be table salt, was formed here by the lake that was here in Death Valley many years ago. But now you can walk out here on these salt flats and experience being in the lowest spot in the United States. and we're walking out onto the salt flats here. Jeff is over way out in the distance. It just looks like a big racetrack, a racing spot, but this is all salt that we're walking on, and it is pretty warm here in Death Valley National Park. It's in the low 90s. It's February the 11th, 2022, and this is the lowest spot in the United States. It is not the lowest spot in the world, however, at 282 feet. The Salton Sea is pretty low, but not quite as low as this is in the United States, but there are other parts in the world that are lower than 282 feet below sea level. But this is the lowest spot. It's kind of a cool walk out into the lake bed here and walking at this level. For those of you that used to work with me at the State Water Board, you know, this is 282 feet below sea level. If you look at the ocean, that would have put our building, our high rise there at Cal EPA, well underneath the this point. So at about 25 stories, our building would have fit underneath sea level and between this point. Anyways, whatever you guys are doing in today, get out and enjoy the great outdoors. And that wraps it up here for our second day at Death Valley National Park. Then we'll be on to 2 other national parks during our next 2 weeks. Have a great day.